This is one of the easiest and fanciest dessert recipe you're going to make. So let's get started. I'm going to start by introducing the items I'll be using. I'm making use of whole eggs, flour, cocoa powder, granulated sugar, vegetable oil canola, whole milk, vinegar. Both of these are vinegar. I'll tell you the reason why we're using them and when. Baking powder, baking soda. Later I'll be introducing my flavor and food coloring. I got my 7 by 11 inch pan and I'm greasing it well with vegetable oil. You could spray a cooking spray. Make sure you grease all corners of your pan. Next, I placed in my parchment paper and I'm also going to grease this parchment paper with vegetable oil. And then I'm going to set this aside. I've already started preheating my oven, so make sure your oven is on before you start mixing. To my milk, I added the first half teaspoon of vinegar and I'm going to stir it and keep it aside. This is going to make our buttermilk. Next to my bowl, I'm going to be adding my eggs. Make sure your eggs are large eggs and all your items are at room temperature. Please remember to check the description box below for a link to the detailed recipe. My recipes are on my blog, they're on Pinterest. Sometimes I share them on my Instagram page and also on TikTok. Now I added vanilla flavor and I'm going to whip this for about 2 minutes just to combine the eggs together. Next, I'll be adding my sugar in 3 batches. The first batch, and I'll whip in between the batches. At the end of the sugar addition, I'm going to have my egg tripled in volume. This whipping took me 5 minutes. Now my bowl is small, so I'm going to transfer this into a bigger bowl to give me more room to continue my recipe. Whipping it again. Now this is ready. I got my strainer and I'm going to sieve in my dry ingredients. First, I'm adding my flour, followed by cocoa powder, then baking powder, and I'll sieve this in. After mixing your egg with your stand mixer or hand mixer, switch over to a spatula. Don't be tempted to use your mixer to mix in the dry items. You're going to deflate the air you introduce into the egg. Next, I'll be adding my red food coloring. I'm using Excellent Blend. If you're in Nigeria, it's familiar to you. Why, for those outside Nigeria, you could use your liquid or your gel food coloring. Make sure it's a good brand. I'm going to whisk this up well. Now I got my baking soda bowl and I'm going to be adding my half teaspoon of vinegar, the second half teaspoon of vinegar into it. I'll stir it well and I'll pour into my batter and I'm going to fold in my batter nicely. You will notice the chemical reaction once you add your vinegar into your baking soda. Now I'm going to stir this well. I got my pan, poured it into my pan, and I'm going to tap the base of my pan to level the batter well and then bake. Baking for 10 to 15 minutes, maximum of 15 minutes. Watch your cake, don't go away. It's not the regular cake recipe, so don't go away. If you are still watching, it means you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe. My cake is baked. I'm just going to test for doneness. I inserted my skewer into it. You see that my skewer is clean, and also when I touch the top of my cake, it didn't stick to my hand. This shows that my cake is baked. Now see how soft it is. I'm going to remove the cake from the pan. I'm using a knife to scrape the side of the pan so that the cake comes out well. I'll remove it from the pan, and the next things I'm going to be doing is going to be done while the cake is hot. You're not going to leave the cake to cool down at any point. If you do that, by the time you want to roll your cake is going to crack, and you don't want that. Now I transfer this to a tray. I'm going to flip it over and remove the parchment paper. Next, I placed a clean or fresh parchment paper on the cake and flipped it, and then I'm going to be applying my whipped cream. You could use cream cheese or jam or honey or lemon curd as you're feeling, but I'm using whipped cream here, and I'm going to apply this slightly, thinly. You don't want it to be too thick. If it's too thick, your cake is going to have issues when you are rolling. Now you could do this particular section or segments before applying the cream. I just cut the shorter part of my cake slightly. This is to enable my cake sit comfortably after rolling. Then for the other shorter edge of my cake, I'm going to create 2 indents. This is to enable me roll the cake well. Like I said, your fillings should be spread thinly. Now this is done while the cake is hot. If you leave it to cool before doing this, your cake is going to crack. Now I'm rolling. Make sure when rolling, your parchment paper is not going to be rolled into the cake. It's just to serve as an aid while rolling. Just watch the video. It's very simple to make. Continue rolling, and once it gets to the edge, you see it sits comfortably, just like this. This is what you want. Next, I'm going to be wrapping this up well. I'm wrapping the cake well with parchment paper, and I'm going to use a sellotape to stick the parchment paper to each other, so that by the time I refrigerate this, it doesn't roll out. And also, when you're about refrigerating, make sure the part where your cake is rolled to is sitting on your baking tray. Make sure you seal both edges well. Now refrigerate for 2 hours. After 2 hours, my cake Swiss roll is ready to be unwrapped. Now I'm going to slice off the 2 shorter edges so that I will have a clean cut for presentation. This is actually optional, but I just like doing that. Now your Swiss roll is ready. Garnish and top it with fresh fruits, with meringue cookies, with whatever you like. Surprise your family members with it this season. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me your comment, tag me to your creations on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok. I love to see all your creations. See you next week.